guys, it is Carl Brown from GuitarLessons365.com. Have a classic for you today. We're going to do Jimi Hendrix's Foxy Lady. Now, the original recording was in standard tuning, so that's what I'm going to be doing the lesson in. Most other videos, well, every video I've ever seen of Jimi play this, other than that, other than the studio recording, is half step down. So it's going to be played the same way. It's just tuned differently. So he generally preferred half step down, a little bit bigger sound. But I'm going to be doing this in standard. But like I said, just tune down a half step and just play it the same way. It doesn't matter. All right, so we have some interesting stuff here. We got a lot of the repetitive riffs, but some little variations that he does. So I'm going to be going through that and the solo, which is killer. So let's jump into it real quick. Now, there's an intro to this song where he holds a note, really shakes the strings, really pretty violent vibrato, so all the adjacent strings are ringing, and then it starts feeding back. He actually does that a couple times in the song. Now, what he's doing to create that, I don't have an amp sitting right beside me here, so I'm not going to be able to get this feedback going. But you're basically going to be playing the 16th fret on the D string, and he plays it at such an angle. As he shakes that note, he's also, the inside of his index finger is also holding down the 15th fret of the G string. So it's so angled that the tip of his finger is holding down 16, and the rest of his finger is holding down 15 of the G. And he shakes that, and you hear like the open E string in there. Now, he had huge, very powerful hands, and he also used pretty light gauge strings. So that makes it a little bit easier to get that really violent vibrato. You can also do it down here and maybe make it a little bit easier and use a couple of fingers to do it. The 11th fret on the G and the B, and shake it so the high E string starts ringing out with it. All right, so if you're a wuss like me, you might do it like that. But, and obviously he shakes that until it starts feeding back, which is not gonna happen in this room. Anyway, so then we go to the main riff of the song, which you're just gonna hit that 16th fret on the D string and slide it down to get into it. All right, so this is based off of an F sharp dominant F sharp dominant sharp 9 chord. So dominant sharp 9 chord, F sharp. So now this is a weird way that he plays it. You might want to use your finger down here if you want, if you don't have the thumb that can get over there. But he played the low note here, the 2nd fret on the low E string with his thumb, and then just a bar with his pinky across the 5th fret of the B and the high E string. So we have this. Now see how my hand is angled kind of basically to my right shoulder. So it allows me to really mute the strings in between. And then the next time I play the bass note, it's going to be on the D string. So you could just use your middle finger here, the 4th fret, and then back to the top 2 notes. So we have this. Back down to the low E string. And then we have this little lick that goes, which is just a 5th fret on the low E, then 2, 3, 4 on the A. So we have this all together. That's right. You might want to mute those. Repeat. Now, you're going to hear some overdubs there too, like higher. You hear those like double stops being played at the 14th fret on the G and the B. And you'll hear also some trills being thrown in there. Those are guitar overdubs. You can add them if you want. He added them a lot live. Now, a lot of those trills, so what happened right in the middle riff like this. It's basically, he'd take out that little lick and just throw a trill in there. So you can do the trills just in case you want to do them. They happen randomly throughout the song. Between 5 and 7 on the high E, or 5 and 7 on the B, and 2 and 4 on the G, and even 2 and 4 on the D. For this. I'm sorry. So if you want to get fancy with it, you can add that stuff to it. Now when the vocals come in, that riff kind of keeps going, but it changes slightly. Let's see if you can pick it up. See that little riff that I put in there? So the first time through is the same. Sweet little heartbreaker, ooh, Foxy, right here. So basically that second time, you start the same way. You hold that 4th fret there on the D, then go to 2 on the D. So we're over to 4 on the A, then back to the bass note to start over. So we're this. And then you go into that same fill again. So all together. Then you just repeat that. So that's when he's doing the verse, that's what the riff is going to be. Then we get to the pre-chorus, which is based around 3 chords, but he's always doing fills usually over the 3rd chord, at least in this first time you hear it. So it sounds like this. All right, so we start with an F sharp major chord, which he once again plays with his thumb down on the low E string. You can play it as a regular bar chord if you really want to. But this thumb on the low E, 2nd fret, 4th fret on the A and the D, 3rd fret on the G, and then the 2nd fret on the B. Down to an E major chord. And then we have our first fill, which is a slide from 2 to 4 on the A string, up to 2 on the D, and then a quick little 2-4 on the A, 2-4 on the D. So all together. Then start back over the F sharp and the E. And now we have this second ending lick, which has this, which is just 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then back to that F sharp and the low E to start the F sharp chord. So the first 2 times through there. Now the last time, you still go through the F sharp and the E, and then we have this, which is sliding into the 6th fret on the A string, and the 4th fret on the D and the G are going to be played as double stops. And then play them again, hammer on the 6th fret on the D, pull back off, kind of a classic Hendrix chord style there. Back to the 6th fret on the A, and end it with the F sharp chord. Ooh. And then we had this first little fill. Takes us back to the main riff. So that little lick up here, the first time you hear it at least, is done with bends. That's at the 16th fret on the G string, down to the 14th with some vibrato. So we have this. And then once again, but we have this, which is a bend to the 16th fret, then play 14 on the B string, then the 14 on the G, and to end it, that 16 sliding down on the D again. You start the riffs over. All right, so we go through the same familiar riffs again, and when we get to the pre-chorus the second time, you're not going to see him do this, what he does on the, I've never seen him go up the octave live. He just kind of keeps hanging down on these chords down here. But on the original recording, he jumps up and does this for the second pre-chorus. All right, so we're up here playing a power chord off the 9th fret of the A string. So this F sharp power chord, 11th fret on the D and the G. Strum that a few times. Now, as you're strumming that, you're going to start adding this. You're hammering on as you're hitting the chord. You just kind of lift up the 11th fret there on the D. So it's just the bar here, the 9th fret's on the D and the A. So this, and you keep hammering on to that 11th fret there. So this. It's a quick little hammer on. Then we're going to do something very similar for the next chord. Just going to be barring the 9th fret of the A and the D, but now hammering on the 11th, just picking those two strings and hammering on the 11th fret of the A. So we move the hammer from the D to the A. And then for the final chord, once again, we have a little fill, which is this kind of, you can slide into the 9th on the A, so the low E string, over to 7 on the A, and then maybe do the hammer from 7 to 9 on the low E, and then back to the 7 on the A, or just slide both. And then back. So it's the same thing repeated twice, and the third time he has a different ending. All right, so that third time, instead of hanging out that ending fill, it was up here sliding from 9 to 11 on the low E, over to 9 on the A, then pick 11 and pull back off to 9, over to 11, so this, and then end it with that F sharp power chord again. Ooh, Foxy. And then we go back to, actually we go into the solo that starts with that same lick that we did before, but done with slides. So let me play the solo for you real quick, and then I'll go through it with you phrase by phrase. All right, so most of that is around the 14th position there. So we're going to start here with the slides. So that's sliding quickly into the 18th fret of the G string, down to 14 on the G, and 16 on the, I'm sorry, the first one is just slide into 18 down to 14. Then do that again, and this time end it with the 16th fret on the D. All right, now we're into the actual solo. First phrase. So that's a bend at the 17th fret on the B string. And you pick it again and release the bend over to 14 there on the G string. Obviously lots of vibrato there. And then he has a quick hammer on from 12 to 14 on the D, then slide that up to a 16. And then you're going to pull off 14 to 12 on the D, over to 12 on the A. That's how he kind of gets this sound there that kind of really sounds really kind of bassy and muddy. He's doing it here instead of doing it there. All right, the next lick there. All right, so that's sliding into the 16th fret on the A string. then 14, 16 on the D, and then you go into some slides that are step and a half, slides, bends that are 7.5 bends. So you gotta make it sound like it's 3 steps up. Then you play it normal, and you're gonna end it with that quick little trill, which is just hammer 14, 16, pull back off to 14, over to 16 on the A, back to 14 on the D. All right, next phrase. Kind of stop there in the middle of it. It's getting a little too long there. So we have this. All right, so that part right there is a bend at the 16th fret on the G string. And then 14 on the B rolled over to 14 on the high E string. Into a bend there at the 17th fret on the B. And then we're going to have this, which is 14 on the high E to 17 on the B twice. Then back to that 14 on the high E, but this time come back down to the 14th fret on the B string. And then you go into the bend at the 17th fret on the high E string, release, and then pick it again. Now from there we do 4 quick little notes there, which is just 14 on the B, 14 on the high E, 17 on the B, then 14, 16 on the high E. And then we go into a repetitive lick finally, which... Now what he's doing here is he's doing a unison bend. So you're going to be playing the 14th fret there on the B string and the 16th fret on the G. And when you pick them together, bend up the 16th fret there on the G. Then you're going to pick the 14th fret again on the B, and then 17 on the B. So we have that. So it's really a 3-note lick. And you're going to repeat that 4 times. Then it goes into a couple of bends at the 17th fret on the B string. And then we do a kind of a classic blues lick again, which you're going to start on the high E string here, 14th fret on the high E, 17, 14 on the B, kind of pull off there, and into that bend again at the 14th fret, 16th fret on the G. So this, after this, couple of bends, you do that little descending lick, do the bend again, and then do that descending lick one more time. And then we finally get to the end of the solo. And that's kind of the same lick, just kind of taken down through the F sharp minor pentatonic scale. And that is going to be pulling off 16 to 14 on the G, over to 16 on the D, back to 14 on the G. So that's the lick. It's really just a 4-note lick. And then take it down to the D string. Start it on the D string. If you know the F sharp minor pentatonic scale form, you just start it there. So we went here. So really it's just everything moved up 1 string. And then the last one, it's the same lick except the note on the bottom string is the 17th fret, not 16. All right, then we get to our last pre-chorus coming out of the solo. So, and that is just going to be like this. All right, so all 3 pre-choruses are slightly different, but this one's more similar to the first one. So we had the same F sharp to E chord, but now we're just gonna slide 6 on the A and then play 4 on the D. So you do that twice. So that's the first time through. Then play the chords again. And then we have this. which is pretty much the same thing, almost. Slide up to 6 on the A, 4 on the D, then pull off 6 to 4 on the D, and then back down to the 6 on the A string. So that's the second ending. Back through the same 2 chords. And our final fill was the same ending of the very first pre-chorus. So it's that same sliding up the 6 on the A, the little double stop, the little hammer pull, back to 6 on the A. So it's the exact ending as the first pre-chorus. So just hopefully you already know that because we've already covered it. All right, now we go back through the main riff of the song, played the same way that we've done so far, that, you know, as they go through the outro of the song, they keep playing it. As they go through it, though, they start doing a slight variation that sounds like this. So that's the same riff, really. But instead of going, or instead of doing those 2 riffs, you're just going to jump right to a B chord, a B major chord or a B power chord, whatever you think sounds best. They actually do both. So that's the 2nd fret on the A, and then barring across the 4th fret of the B, G, and the B. Just jump right to it, and then just continue the riff again. See, I'm just kind of skipping the little, I just throw that right there. All right, and that's about it. And they just go through to the end of the song till it fades out. Of course, towards the end of the song, before this section, they had another one of those feedback sections, just like the intro, but it's done the same way. So you can do it up here or do it here, whatever way is comfortable for you. All right, hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll see you again soon for GuitarLessons365.com.